Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. I've been sleeping with someone else, she said. That was it. No trembling voice. No tears. Just her twirling the wine in her glass, like we were talking about redecorating the kitchen. I hadn't even finished my first bite. We were sitting at this cozy Italian place with dim lighting and fake ivy hanging from the ceiling. The kind of place couples go to fix things, or at least pretend they're trying. Janine had picked it. Said we needed us time. I had no idea I was being taken to dinner like a dog to the vet. She said it again, clearer this time, as if I didn't hear her the first time. I've been seeing someone. For a while. Just to, spice things up. I nodded slowly. Not because I understood, but because I felt like if I didn't move, I'd explode. My throat was dry. I looked down at my plate, wondering if I should keep eating. I didn't want to cry in public. I didn't want to make a scene. I just wanted the ground to do me a favor and open up. She went on, calmly, like she was reading from a script. He doesn't mean anything. It's just fun. I still love you, but we've become roommates, Carl. And I thought if I kept this to myself, it'd get worse. So, I'm telling you. I opened my mouth to say something. Anything. But all I could think about was how she dressed up tonight. The hair, the makeup, the perfume, and none of it had been for me. She stared at me, waiting. Not for forgiveness. For reaction. So I gave her one. I smiled. And I said something that made her stop breathing for a second. Her fork froze midair. Her eyes widened like she had just seen a ghost. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't leave. But what I said flipped the entire table, without touching it. And if you think her confession was shocking, wait until you hear what I said next. I'm happy for you, I said. Yeah, that's what I told her. I looked her dead in the eyes and whispered it calmly, almost like I was complimenting the food. And for a full 3 seconds, Janine didn't move. Not a blink. Not a breath. Like her brain short-circuited because she expected anger, shouting, maybe a dramatic exit, but not that. She forced a half-laugh, the kind people do when they're unsure if they've just won or lost. You're happy for me? She repeated, like she hadn't heard it right. Her voice tilted upward, confused. I nodded slowly and set down my fork. I mean, if you've finally found what makes you feel alive, who am I to get in the way? That's when her jaw clenched. And I realized something. She didn't want my understanding. She wanted my pain. My fight. Some messy confirmation that I still wanted her enough to lose my mind over her betrayal. But I didn't give her that. I stayed still. Steady. And it was killing her. I didn't expect this reaction, she admitted. I thought you'd be hurt. Oh, I was hurt. I was demolished. Inside, I felt like I was walking barefoot across broken glass while trying to smile at strangers. But I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. So I leaned in slightly and lowered my voice, like we were sharing secrets over coffee. Janine, I've been wondering for months why I feel like I sleep next to a stranger. Now I know. You were already gone. Her hand gripped the stem of the wine glass, knuckles pale. The act was slipping. You're twisting this, she said, voice a little sharper now. I came to you honestly. I wanted to fix things. No, you came to confess, I replied. There's a difference. People at nearby tables were starting to glance our way, probably sensing the tension crawling off our table like steam from a kettle. I didn't care. Let them watch. I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope I had brought. Not because I knew this would happen, but because something in me had felt it. Some part of me that still paid attention, even when she thought I wasn't. I slid it across the table. What's this? She asked. A timeline, I said. Dates, receipts, moments. Every hour you thought you were sneaking away, I noticed. I just didn't want to believe it. She went quiet. Her fingers hovered over the envelope but didn't touch it. I don't want to lose you, she said suddenly, and it sounded less like a plea and more like a script. This doesn't have to be the end. We can work through this. And I knew, in that moment, she wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing the version of me that never said no. The quiet man. The predictable man. The one who never asked questions. But that man, her safety net, was gone. I didn't walk out. Not yet. Instead, I ordered dessert. She asked me why, and what I told her then broke her more than any scream ever could. The waiter returned to clear our plates. I asked for the chocolate lava cake. Janine blinked like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. She just sat there, stunned, watching me fold my napkin across my lap like everything was normal. You want dessert? she finally asked, voice flat. Yeah, I said calmly. Might as well end this night with something sweet. She flinched. Just a little. But I saw it. Her entire plan was falling apart right there in that candlelit booth. I wasn't behaving like the devastated husband she expected. I wasn't begging. I wasn't throwing accusations. I wasn't performing grief. And that's what she really wanted, whether she admitted it or not, to feel powerful. To be the one who had the upper hand. But I was done giving her power. The silence between us stretched long enough for the waiter to come back, place the dessert in front of me, and vanish again. Janine still hadn't touched the envelope I gave her. It sat there like a bomb she was too afraid to defuse. I picked up my spoon and took a bite. It was warm, sweet, bitter. Everything she wasn't anymore. You know, I said slowly, still savoring the taste. This is the first time in months I've actually enjoyed something without you ruining it halfway through. Her face tightened. What's that supposed to mean? I shrugged. It means you've been sabotaging us for a long time. I just didn't want to admit it. I thought maybe if I loved you harder, longer, more quietly, you'd come back on your own. Janine didn't respond. She looked down, probably realizing I wasn't going to shield her from the truth anymore. Then she shifted tactics. I made a mistake, she said, soft and shaky now. That's why I told you. I wanted to stop it. I want to fix this, Carlton. You and me. I set the spoon down and leaned in, lowering my voice. No. You told me because you assumed I'd fall apart and you'd get to rewrite the story your way. You wanted control, not forgiveness. She opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. You had months to fix us. You chose secrets. You chose someone else's bed. And now, you want to patch it all together because the reality of losing me suddenly feels real. I don't want to lose you, she repeated, a little more desperate. I nodded slowly. You already did. Her hand reached for mine. I pulled away. And then, I pulled out a second envelope. This one was thicker. Her eyes narrowed. What's that? My reply, I said. To your confession. She looked confused. What do you mean? I slid it across the table without saying another word. Inside were papers she never expected to see that night. She stared at the second envelope like it might hiss if she touched it. For a second, I think she thought it was a bluff. Like maybe I was just being dramatic. Some kind of symbolic gesture to match her theatrical dinner confession. But then she reached out, and I could tell by the way her fingers hesitated midair that a part of her already knew. Knew it wasn't empty. Knew this wasn't just a reaction. This was preparation. She opened it slowly, carefully, like it might contain broken glass. Inside were 5 printed pages, neatly stapled. Legal formatting. My name. Her name. Our address. The date. The words petition for dissolution of marriage were right there in bold, at the top. She blinked at them like they couldn't possibly be real. Her lips moved as she read the first paragraph silently. You already filed? Her voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear her. No, I said, finishing the last bite of dessert. But I had them drawn up 3 weeks ago. She looked up at me like she'd been slapped across the face with a memory she didn't want. Why? That single word told me everything I needed to know. She truly believed I was still the same man she'd been manipulating for months. That I couldn't possibly act without her permission. That I couldn't see through her just because I didn't scream. Because you stopped coming home smelling like you, I said. Because you started texting from the bathroom. Because you laughed at jokes I wasn't around to hear and smiled at memories I didn't share. Because one night I looked over at you while you were sleeping and realized I didn't recognize the woman in my bed anymore. She looked like she wanted to deny it. But I saw her throat tighten. Her fingers curled into fists on the tablecloth. And then her voice cracked just a little. You were going to divorce me without even confronting me. I wasn't sure, I admitted. Part of me hoped I was wrong. That I was just being paranoid. But tonight confirmed everything. You didn't just cheat, Janine. You planned this dinner like it was a strategy meeting. You wanted to come clean just enough to keep control. You thought by admitting it on your terms, I'd roll over and play the loyal fool again. She sat back in her chair like I'd shoved her. Her jaw trembled. You're making this into something it's not. I was trying to save us. By sleeping with someone else. I snapped, the first hint of heat slipping into my voice. By dressing up for a stranger and then sitting across from your husband like you're the one making sacrifices? The people at the next table were definitely listening now, but I didn't care. I'd spent too long swallowing my discomfort for her sake. I let her own silence weigh on her. I'm not filing tonight, I said finally. I wanted to give you a chance to speak, to tell me the truth, raw and real. But instead, you gave me a performance. One that ends with me conveniently forgiving you over pasta and pretending we're stronger because of it." She wiped at her eye, finally realizing that tears might not be enough to fix this. "I don't want to lose everything," she whispered. And I nodded. "You should have thought of that before giving everything to someone else." Then I stood up, slowly, as if the air itself had gotten heavier. I left both envelopes on the table. She didn't chase me. She didn't call my name. She just sat there, hollowed out and shaken, like the whole script had flipped. What she didn't know was that wasn't the end. Because the man she cheated with, he wasn't just anybody. I didn't go straight home. I drove, aimlessly, past gas stations and grocery stores, and through neighborhoods that looked nothing like mine. I just needed motion, something to distract me from the echo of her voice in my head. "He doesn't mean anything," she'd said. Like that made it better. Like reducing betrayal to a casual hookup would somehow make me feel less gutted. I tried to convince myself that it didn't matter who the guy was. Cheating is cheating. Pain is pain. But deep down, I knew it did matter. I needed to know. Not for closure, but for context. For sanity. I pulled into an empty parking lot behind a bowling alley. The kind of place where nobody asks questions if a grown man sits alone in his car at night. I opened my phone and stared at the gallery of screenshots I'd collected over the past month. Messages she forgot to delete. Photos half-cropped. A hotel reservation under her maiden name. She thought she was clever. She wasn't. I scrolled through until I found the one that made my stomach twist the first time I saw it. A reflection. Not his face. Just a blurry shoulder and a piece of his jacket, visible in the mirror behind her. But that jacket? That belonged to someone I knew. Not well, but enough. 3 days later, I confirmed it. The man my wife had been seeing was Jason Larrabee, my gym trainer. Or rather, our trainer. The one we used to see together before she stopped going, claiming her schedule was too packed. The same guy who gave me tips on nutrition, who fist-bumped me after every session, who called me big man, like we were buddies. I had asked him just 2 weeks ago if he could help me build a workout routine to surprise Janine. He'd smiled, nodded, and told me, "She's lucky to have a guy like you." Yeah, lucky. I didn't rage. I didn't punch a wall or scream into a pillow. Instead, I went quiet, detached, like something in me disconnected, and I stopped bleeding. I made an appointment with him the next morning. Told him I wanted a one-on-one session, early, before the gym opened. He agreed without hesitation. I showed up at 6:15 a.m. sharp. He was already there, leaning on the counter with his usual cocky grin and a shaker bottle in hand. I walked in, handed him a folded towel, and said, "Thought you might need this." He chuckled. "Thanks, man." Inside the towel, a photo. Janine's reflection in the hotel mirror. And behind her, that damn jacket. He didn't realize until I walked away. By the time he unwrapped it, I was already back in my car. I didn't need to see his face. I didn't need a confrontation. I just wanted him to know I knew, and that I could have gone nuclear, but I didn't. When I got home that afternoon, Janine was in the kitchen. She looked like she hadn't slept. The envelopes were on the table again, untouched. She asked if we could talk. I didn't answer. Instead, I asked her a question. "Did you fall for him, or was I just that invisible?" She said nothing, which was, in its own way, the most honest answer she could have given. Then she asked me something I didn't expect. "Are you going to tell anyone?" I turned to her slowly. "Why? You afraid of how it'll make you look?" "No," she whispered. "I'm afraid of how it'll make you feel if you have to say it out loud." I just nodded. I think part of me still hoped she'd apologize like she meant it. But she never did. She just existed, like someone waiting for a sentence. She thought it was over. But there was one more thing I had to do. Because when trust dies, it doesn't just leave a hole, it leaves a map. And I was about to follow it all the way to the end. She said the word freedom like it was some kind of gift she was giving herself. Like it was a brave, selfless choice to go behind my back and crawl into someone else's bed. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized she didn't want freedom. She wanted options. She wanted a safety net with my name on it, while she went cliff diving with Jason behind my back. She didn't want to lose me. She wanted to keep me on the hook, just in case her little adventure didn't work out. But I wasn't going to be anyone's backup plan. The next morning, I woke up before her. She was curled up on her side of the bed, facing the wall like always. I stood there for a moment, watching her breathe, wondering how many mornings she had woken up beside me while already belonging to someone else in her head. I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't slam the door. I simply left the house, went to the bank, and started untying knots. Over the course of the day, I did the kind of paperwork that makes betrayal official. I closed our joint savings account, transferred the funds into a separate one under my name. Not out of revenge, out of self-protection. I called our mortgage broker, scheduled an appraisal. I contacted a realtor friend and told him I wanted to sell the house, quietly, off-market. He asked if everything was okay. I told him everything was exactly how it should be. That evening, I came home early. Janine was in the living room, scrolling her phone, acting like nothing had happened. She looked up, surprised, and asked if I wanted to order dinner. I told her no. She should probably start getting used to feeding herself. She didn't understand at first. She tilted her head, did that little laugh she always used when she thought I was being dramatic. Then she saw the manila folder in my hand. She froze. "What's that?" she asked. "My to-do list," I said. "It's shorter than yours was, apparently." She didn't appreciate the sarcasm. She started asking questions. Why was I being so cold? Didn't I want to try therapy? Didn't I want to talk about rebuilding trust? That she was willing to work through this if I just gave her the chance. I told her it was already too late. That the version of me who would have tried to fix this had died the moment she smiled while telling me about her little fling. I didn't smile. She snapped, suddenly defensive. "You think I did? You're twisting things." And that's when I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because even now, standing in the wreckage, she was still rewriting the story to protect herself. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she lost control of the narrative. I told her the house would be listed by the end of the month, that I'd be staying in a hotel for now, but I'd return for my things soon. She stood up, full panic now, voice rising with every word. "You're throwing away our marriage over one mistake." I stared at her. "No, you did that. You just thought I'd be too weak to notice." She tried to stop me as I walked out, reached for my arm. I didn't even flinch. I left her standing in the doorway, barefoot and shaking, clutching a story she couldn't finish writing. What she didn't know was that I wasn't just walking away from the house or the marriage. I was walking towards something she never expected, a truth she couldn't escape. Because someone else knew what she did, and they were about to make sure she paid for it. It wasn't revenge. Not in the theatrical, movie-ending kind of way. I wasn't out to ruin her. I didn't want to burn her clothes or post some dramatic status online. All I wanted was to be left alone, to walk away with whatever pieces of myself I still had intact. But the thing about betrayal is, it rarely ends when you walk away. Sometimes, it follows you, in whispers, half-truths, and rewritten versions that paint you as the villain for daring to respond to pain. And that's exactly what Janine tried to do. A week after I left the house, she posted a photo of us. An old one, from a vacation we took in Asheville 5 years ago. Smiling, holding hands, her caption read, "Sometimes you think you know someone, until they just disappear." I gave everything to this marriage. I wasn't even tagged, but everyone who knew us saw it. My phone started buzzing like a dying animal. Messages from friends, co-workers, her side of the family, all asking what happened. Was I okay? Why did I abandon her? She beat me to the narrative. That was her real talent. Not infidelity, control. I didn't answer anyone. Not at first. I figured if I stayed quiet, the storm would pass. But then, her trainer, Jason, reached out to me. Through a burner account. One message. "She's telling people you were abusive." I stared at the screen so long it dimmed and went black. Me? Abusive? The guy who flinched at raising his voice during arguments? The man who tiptoed around her moods like they were landmines? That's what she landed on. To justify her affair? I didn't respond to him, but I did finally realize something. She didn't just want to walk away clean. She wanted to run and make sure I looked like the mess she was escaping from. That's when I knew I had to protect myself. So, I gathered everything. Not just receipts, but patterns. Emails, screenshots, dates and times. Her gym check-ins while she claimed to be at book club. Voice notes where she slipped up. Messages from a mutual friend who had overheard her bragging one wine-drunk night about playing both sides like a pro. It wasn't about dragging her through the mud. It was about not letting her drag me through it. I sent one group message to our closest circle. No emotion, no venom, just facts. Timeline. Evidence. Proof. I ended it with a line that read, "I don't want sympathy. I just won't be silent while someone rewrites history." And then I turned off my phone. Hours later, my inbox was full of stunned reactions. Apologies. People saying they had no idea. Even her sister, who I never got along with, messaged me. She lied to all of us. I'm sorry. But the message that hit the hardest came from Jason. Again, she showed up at my place crying. Said she had nowhere else to go. I told her to leave. That was the moment it all cracked. Because Janine, who always had a backup plan, a safety net, a way out, finally ran out of places to land. She texted me at midnight. "You humiliated me." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. You can't humiliate someone with the truth. You only expose what they tried to bury. But the story wasn't over. 3 weeks after everything blew up, she showed up at my hotel. I don't know how she found out where I was staying. Maybe she still had access to one of my accounts. Maybe she asked around. Either way, there she was, standing in the hallway, makeup smudged, wearing the hoodie she always stole from me when she was cold. She knocked once, then twice. I didn't open it right away. I just stood on the other side of the door, listening to her breathe, unsure what I even wanted to hear. Finally, I cracked the door open. Her voice was small. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. I let her speak. And she did. Everything from crocodile tears to whispered apologies to bold declarations like, "We're stronger than this," and "I didn't know how much I loved you until I lost you." It would have crushed me weeks ago, but now it just sounded like noise. See, healing doesn't come with a speech. It comes with time, space, and truth. And I'd already started building a life without her in it. I'd found a rhythm in my day again. I'd started running, cooking for myself, sitting in silence without feeling like I had to shrink for someone else's comfort. So I stepped outside, gently closing the hotel door behind me. "You're not the villain," I told her. "But you're not my partner anymore either." She didn't take it well. She begged, cried, said she made a mistake. And I forgave her. But forgiving her didn't mean I had to let her back in. I walked away, not bitter, not angry, just done. A month later, I moved into a small rental house near the edge of town. It's nothing fancy, but it's quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel like punishment, just peace. I planted a tree in the backyard. Something small, still growing. I guess it felt symbolic. Something that would take root, slowly, quietly, just like I was. And for the first time in years, I felt light. Not because I got revenge. Not because she hurt. But because I didn't have to carry it anymore. I didn't win. I chose peace. Thank you for watching Reddit Confessions. What moment in this story hit you the hardest? Was it the restaurant? The second envelope? Or the final knock at the hotel door? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this. Sometimes the loudest revenge is choosing not to go back.